All right. Um, so, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you really had an awesome lunch. All right. So, I just landed right now, like 2 hours before, and the first thing which I did was have some food. And then I saw through my slides, and I was like, okay, now I can go ahead. All right. So, what I'm going to talk about today is about security. Um, so, we must have heard about so many awesome stuffs like user notifications, um, you know, there's so many other things, and there are so many other awesome talks which are going to come after my talk about RealmDB, about so many other awesome features. But there is one basic thing which everyone needs to understand, and that is security. So what I'm going to talk about in this talk is few basic ways of securing your apps, probably, and how you can, make it more secure. And what are the common mistakes which developers do when they are making an app? So, a little bit about me. I have a company of my own in Singapore. It's into mobile security. I'm the co-founder and the CTO. I've also given a talk, not a talk, a whole lot of talks in Black Hat, DEF CON, Syscan, and many security conferences about platform securities, about finding out how to jailbreak iOS application, rooting Android phones and devices and stuff like that. But we are not going to go into platforms. We're going to go into apps. And that's why we are here. A little bit about the agenda, which we are going to talk about, introduction, and then, of course, the famous Android versus iOS. Who wins? Android? iOS? Who wins? Of course, iOS wins. Yeah. Uh, and a few things like, few benign stuff, how a pasteboard can be used to hack an app, what is an application snapshot, how can we hack it, ways to hack it, juice jacking. Anyone heard of the term called juice jacking? It's not juice, it's not apple juice. It's something, I'll tell you when we are there. And of course, the top 10 mobile security list, which we have prepared. So I'm just going to run down through those top 10 security lists, which everyone should follow while you're creating your apps. And 4 myths about mobile security. Yeah, so pretty much that's the agenda. And of course, if you guys have any question, put your hands up, ask me. I want it to be interactive. So yeah, perfect. Okay, so the first one, introduction. Of course, the boring introduction tried to make it more beautiful, but yeah. Why? Why is mobile security important? First thing is fragmented application. What do you mean by fragmented application? Before you publish it in App Store, this is what I face was, should I build the app for iOS 9 and 10 and iOS 8 also? And this kept stuck in my mind because I know that there are few users who are still using iOS 8. There's still few users who are using iOS 9. And of course, there are very less users who is using iOS 10, right? So I would like to pack it all up into one single binary and try to publish it in App Store, trying to support as many devices as I can. Now the problem is, iOS 8 is no more supported. Apple has stopped providing patches for iOS 8. iOS 9, again the same thing. So if there is a new vulnerability which comes in iOS 9, it's not going to be patched by Apple. So they have gone through iOS 10 now. So any new patches or any new security issues which is discovered in iOS 10 is going to be patched, not iOS 9 nor iOS 8. Any new APIs which has been introduced in iOS 10 is not supported probably in iOS 8 and iOS 9. So that's why we have fragmented application for all of these fragmented platforms which we use. So it's not only a problem about Android, where you have so many Android, like Lollipop, Marshmallow, and you need to create apps which supports all throughout. It's also a problem in the iOS world also, right? And of course, most of the apps, however awesome it is, it uses the personal and social information of each and every user. Now, are those secured? Do we use it securely? No idea. And of course, nowadays, big corporations allows you to bring your phone in their premises, right? So So they come up with programs called MDM, Mobile Device Management, MAM, Mobile Application Management, and stuff like that. But how secured are they? Can those be hacked? VPNs, what is VPN, and stuff like that. So these are certain areas for which mobile security is very important for everyone to understand at least the basics of it. So yeah. The great debate, Android versus iOS. We see the graph for Android going high up for vulnerable apps. The number of vulnerable apps in Android is high. The malwares in Android is high. Device vulnerabilities is high. Fragmentation is high. But I'm not going to talk about Android. It's okay. We know it's high. We know it's vulnerable. That's fine. Let's talk about iOS. But iOS do have some curves, right? It's not zero. Why isn't it zero? So let's say vulnerable apps. Yes, App Store has policies where they go through review process, but those review process is only for your app's quality or performance or a little bit of security, but they do not check whether your API call which your app is doing is secure or not. Is there a data leakage happening? Or are you storing the data simply without encrypting it? Stuff like that, those are not checked by the App Store. Now, it's good that App Store has a policy, a manual verification which goes through. That's why the number of malwares in the App Store is way less, but there are. So if you have heard about Xcode Ghost, which actually gets into your Xcode and injects a library whenever you build an app, of course, see? So there are 2 more malwares, 3 more malwares, which is right now out there in the dark web. So yeah, so there are malwares, but those are controlled. There's no such malware in the public store as of now, but probably maybe in the future. Device vulnerability. If you look at the device vulnerability, it's way high up. Do you know why am I saying the devices are vulnerable? If you know about jailbreak, the latest jailbreak which is out there is 9.3.3 for iOS 9.3.3. All of these jailbreak is vulnerability. So you do not understand. So people say that I want to jailbreak my phone. It basically means my phone is vulnerable to some exploit. I'm going to exploit that and going to use a jailbreak. So that's what it is. So until iOS 9.3.3, each and every iOS version except for a few other versions in iOS 6 are jailbreakable, which means they are vulnerable. And as of the latest news in Reddit and in other forums, even iOS 10 is jailbreakable, but it's not publicly released. It's there. It's a private jailbreak release which is there. So you can buy it if you can shell out $1 million. So yeah. So the last one is fragmentation. The iOS fragmentation is way less than what Android fragmentation is, which is good. But still there is a little bit of fragmentation still there. So I'm using iOS 9.3.3, not iOS 10 because I need the jailbreak for my assessment, for my security assessment. So yeah. So that's the next slide, securing your mobile apps. So simple stuff, secure pasteboard. Can someone tell me how can a pasteboard be used to hack an app? Copy password, exactly. How many of you actually look at the pasteboard whenever you make your login page? No one. You just make your username page, password page. You have credit card field. Do you ever think about can someone copy the credit card field? Now what happens if someone can copy the credit card field? Let's see. So this is a kind of view where a credit card field is there. Phone number, due date. Now let's say you did a mistake while typing the credit card and you just clicked on copy. Now there is a feature in iOS 10 where it's called something called universal clipboard, which means if you copy something in your iOS 10 device, it gets shared among all of your devices, even in a Mac, right? So that's a feature, right? That's an awesome feature, but that's also a security risk. So but no one cares about it, right? So if you're writing a code, you should know that if there are sensitive field which you're going to use, you should be using a way to prevent copy paste, a way to prevent, even if the paste is enabled, a way to prevent it from going to global, global scope. So as a developer, you can either flag a piece of data as local only, which means the copy paste will work only across this app and not in any other app, or set an expiration date on the piece of data. So you can also set an expiration date. So if you copy something from this app, it's going to expire after, let's say, 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a good enough time, or let's say 60 seconds, or a minute, right? So how do you do that? It's kind of simple. It's just one single line. I'm sorry, I didn't write it in Swift code, but it's in Objective-C because I'm not sure how many of you know Swift, but most of you know. If you know Swift, you know Objective-C for sure. So that's the rationality. So I wrote it in Objective-C. Sorry for that. But yeah, you can actually go through it. It's just one line, right? You set the items as local only, and local only should be set to true, right? So such a simple solution for that. This is for if you want to make it local only. The next example is if you want to expire it. So you can basically set an expiration string. You can add in what time interval you want to expire it, and that's going to be expired. The paste content is going to be expired. So in the next slide, I'm going to talk about another vulnerability, another security issues which developer makes. But how can we exploit this, this vulnerability? How can I exploit if an app has a pasteboard? How can I exploit it? So I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. So yeah, so let's just hold your horses. Okay, the next one is application snapshot vulnerability. Do you know about what is an application snapshot? Any idea? It's not the screenshot, right? What is it? So if you might have noticed, whenever you want to switch your apps, you get this beautiful screen with all the app running in the background, right? Do you think those are live screens? Those are not. Those are basically snapshot of your application which gets saved in your snapshot cache folder. Now, once you click on the application switcher, you basically get to see all of these screens. It feels like it's seamless, right? Apple is fooling us. It is making people believe that it is seamless, but it is not. The UI element of the iOS is not seamless. So what they do is they take a screenshot of the current application, put it there in a snapshot folder, and then kind of show it like this, which kind of is neat, right? So what can the vulnerability be? Like, how can a hacker get an access to the snapshot, and what can be there? So any idea? Right, there's so many things. Account number, credit card details. So if you're putting in a credit card and if you thought, all right, let me go back to the mail and check it, and you click on the home button, so the whole account, the whole screen gets saved in the snapshot directory, right? Now, can we extract that snapshot? If your phone is not jailbroken, we can still extract that snapshot. Using stuffs called iFunbox, using softwares like iFunbox or Libi mobile device, we can extract those snapshot easily. So, just goes. Yeah, so how can you fix this? This is very simple. So there are certain functions which is did app goes background and such functions. So this is one such function which we are going to call, which is application will resign active, which means the application has gone to foreground. And then you can set up a splash screen. Now this splash screen is another PNG, which is an overlay. So whenever you click on the home button or whenever you switch your app, this blur or kind of an image comes as an overlay, and that gets saved into your snapshot. So you cannot tell the iOS not to take the snapshot. It's still going to take the snapshot, but it's just going to make it more efficient. Like, it's not going to leak all the data which you have written on the screen. So it just goes into the background, and which is an image view, right? Oh, yes. And when the application becomes active, like when you click on it, then you just check for if the image view is there. If it is not nil, if it is there, then just remove the image view from the super view, and then just set the image view as nil. That's it. That's as simple as that. So it's just 3 lines of code, and you secure an app, right? So it's so simple stuff. There are vulnerabilities also related to transport layer security. Now, Apple has released something called application transport security. How many of you know about that? Everyone knows about that. Nice. So you watch WWDC. That's great. So that is good because from December onwards, you cannot connect to a server which is an HTTP based server. It needs to be an HTTPS, right? And Apple is going to make sure that any app which connects to an HTTP based server, they're just not going to accept the app in their app store. So there are exceptions. You can put in those exceptions, but the app store is not going to accept that. So if you have Enterprises app and Enterprises app store, you may be able to push that into those app store, but the Apple app store, if you want to publish your app in the into the Apple app store, it's not going to be possible. So, yeah. How many of you know about this data protection API? Okay, few. That's good. Of course, RealmDB itself uses data protection API. I was just going through that. Yeah. So what is the data protection API? So iOS is so amazing that they themselves have given you an API to use to encrypt your data, which you store it into the file, right? That's amazing. Android doesn't do that. Of course, Android does not do that. So iOS gives you those, those ability to do that. But the sad part is it's just 10% of this whole crowd who knows about this API. And they did announce it in WWDC 2 years back. So 2 years back, you didn't pay attention in WWDC. That's bad. But yeah, let's see what it does, right? Okay, so there is something called NS file protection. So your application might need to store credentials locally. How do you store it? So you would have crazy, weird ideas about encrypting it into AES and then putting the key or do a public-private key and then putting the private key into the server and exporting the server key and somehow do so many crazy ideas about encrypting it and keeping it secure. But Apple themselves has given you an API. And it is amazing because this API is just not a normal public-private or kind of an encryption. It is a hardware-level encryption. Now that's amazing. Like, how can you even build an hardware-level encryption when Apple themselves is giving you an API to use their hardware-level encryption, right? So if you're storing a file for whatever the reason it is, for caching, for storing the data, the login items, or anything, you can use these APIs. So I have given a little bit of explanation what these APIs are. So if you're using a file, if it is NS file, then the optional argument would be NS file protection. Now these are the optional, the options which is there. So NS file protection none, which means the file is not protected and can be read or written at any time. This is the default value. So if you do not pass on any argument, this is the value which you're going to get. But if you put in a complete one, like NS file protection complete, then any file with this setting is protected 10 seconds after the device is locked. So once you lock the device, this file is not accessible by any other application or even by USB. It is not accessible. It is encrypted. There is two other things, which is NS protection complete unless open. Now, these are these other APIs which is there because your app might do a background processing, right? So while your app is doing a background processing, it might need those files. Now, if that file is inaccessible, then the background processing is going to crash. So they have given two other APIs. So NS file protection complete unless open, which means the settings are protected 10 seconds after the device is locked unless they are currently open. So if the file is being open and it's being utilized, and if you lock your screen, if the file is open, the file will remain open, remain accessible to the process. Once the process gets completed, the file gets locked immediately. So that's one, that's amazing. The other thing is until first user authentication. The same thing, first time the user unlocks the device. So it will be accessible only for the first time when the user unlocks the device. And then it is accessible to the process. So yeah, so Apple has given you so many awesome APIs to work on. I've written some example again in Objective-C. I'm really sorry, but yeah. Let's say write to file, right? So you might use this function a lot to write to file for debugging purposes, for anything. You just need to pass in an options. Let's say NS data writing file protection complete, which means if the device is locked, this file cannot be accessed by any application, even by your own application, it cannot be accessed. So that's the best protection though. And if you're using NS File Manager to store files in your file managers, Then let's say if this is the content like super secret file content, you can basically store it again with dictionary with object NS file protection complete for NS file protect. So that's the key and that's the value. Once you put that, again, once the application goes, once the device is locked, this file is not going to be accessible at all. So yeah, so there are so many other awesome APIs which has been given. Now this is very important. File protection is very easy. So as you can see, it is as easy as just passing an option, right? It's so easy. It's simple and hardware optimized. So you do not need to create your own AES algorithm or HMAC algorithm. It's good if you do that, but this is very simple. This is the basic step towards security, right? And you should use this in every project of yours. You should make it a habit. Unless you have a good reasons to not to, which I don't think so, right? Because 99% of the iOS apps which I have scanned till date doesn't uses this. So I can use my hacking skills to get all of these devices. So even if your phone gets stolen, which is locked, I can get all the information, all the files if it is not using the data APIs. Okay, something which is very interesting. What is a juice jacking? So today I came in late. I went to the aircraft. I sat down and there was a charging port. And since, in my phone, I have more than 25 apps. And all of them are running. I don't even close it, right? So the battery gets drained out pretty quick. So let's say when I sat on the seat, this is what I see. USB power, right? And then I plug in my phone and my phone says, trust this computer. I'm like, should I? What do you think? Should I trust it? Yes? No? Come on. I mean, most of the people will say yes. But since you guys are developers, of course, you wouldn't say that, right? But my dad is gonna just say yes. I don't care what it is, right? So, but can someone tell me what is connected behind this? Is it a power source? It should be, right? But what if it's my laptop which is connected behind it? What if it is me sitting with a USB port right over here saying that, charge your phone, and I'm just sitting here so nicely, and you come here and like, okay, I just have 10% charge, let me just charge my phone. What happens? Now that phenomenon is called juice jacking. So I just sip on a juice and I get everything, every data, all your pictures, everything. Now all the previous vulnerabilities which I talked about, it's as easy as to hack an app using those vulnerabilities via juice jacking. Because my dad is not going to click on don't trust, because my dad has a habit of clicking on trust everything. So he's just going to click on trust, right? So this is interesting, right? So this is not like, these are not hypothetical situation where you lose your phone, because if I tell you that if you lose your phone, then there's a security issue, you might think yourself, I'm never going to lose it. I'm just going to tie it up with my hand. I'm never going to lose it. But what if this is the scenario, right? And this is the scenario which is there. So this happened with me in reality when I went to DEF CON. So DEF CON, there's something called Wall of Sheep. So yeah, there is something called Wall of Sheep. So if you ever go to DEF CON conference in the US, in Vegas, that's where it is. It's just after Black Hat. So you should know about this. Never use your Wi-Fi, because you do not know where it connects. Never use your credit card. Carry cash. Use your credit card in the airport and then come back to hotel. Do not use your credit card inside the hotel. And the third thing, never use the charging point. So that happened with me, and it's true story, right? You can actually read it up in Reuters, or if you search online, this happened with me. So my name got listed in Wall of Sheep. Now that's one of the most pathetic things to happen to me, being a security researcher, I know that. But yeah, since I told you, I have 25 applications open at a time, and it crazily drains my battery. So I went to the hotel, and I connected my charger into the common charging platform where there are 2-3 more phones getting charged. Of course, you are like, let me charge it. And then you connect it, and then like, okay, trust it, I don't care, right? What's the most thing can happen? And then when the closing ceremony happens, they actually show you like wall of sheep, da-da-da, and that's where my name came in the second. And I'm like, are you serious? So, it is possible, so please take care about that. I mean, go and educate your parents, educate the elder ones, like, do not trust everything, you know. Yeah, so, sorry? Okay. Yeah, so coming to the most important part, which is the top 10 mobile security list. So these are the top 10 security issues which we face daily. The percentages are the percentages which we found while we scan apps. So we have done more than 200,000 app assessment. It's all automated at AppKnox, so which is huge, but not as huge as the App Store itself. But then these are some of the issues which we found predominant in iOS. First is weak server-side control, of course. So you write an awesome app, but you write a very shitty, right? How does it work? It doesn't work, right? So even if you create an awesome app, make sure your server-side control is done properly with proper authorization and stuff like that. Why does it keep changing? All right, yes. Insecure data storage, as I showed you the data protection API, no one uses it, no one. I mean, even if you know, you're not going to use it because you just do not have the time to write one more options, right? So you just type it. So use it, insecure data storage, right? Yeah, even for open source project, sorry, no offense, they took around 3 months to just come up with that. But RenDB is really amazing, like my talk after this, they are really amazing. Just saying. All right. Yeah. Insufficient transport layer protection. Now this is the top, like the most important. Are you serious? Yeah. So insufficient transport layer protection is the most important thing, which Apple decided to close it this December, so they are not going to accept any apps which has HTTP as a server backend. So this vulnerability is going to go away, thanks to Apple. Thank you so much. But it's going to increase your cost because now you need to buy SSL certificates for $150, I don't know. So as it is, you pay $100 for Apple Developer Program, now you pay $150 for SSL program too. But yeah, that's worth it, right? Then the unintended data leakages. Now this is very important. These are like logs. I don't understand why an app gets shipped with logs enabled. Like, why? You use log for your development purposes, right? Once that is done, before you release it, just make sure logging is disabled. I mean, I don't care. I don't want to see the logs of the app which you made. You need to see that. So there are services like Fabric and other analytics services via which Crash Analytics, via which you can send the logs back to your server so that you can see it. But you just don't need to display those logs as NSLog into the console, right? And most stupid stuffs, like one of the banking apps, I'm not going to name the banks though, of course. One of the banking apps logs out the credit card number and the account number. So what happens is when you put in the account number to send send funds to another account, it basically logs that. When you add credit card number to add a credit card into the account, it again shows it in the logs. Now, why there is a problem? Because any app can access those logs. Even by juice jacking, I can see all the logs which is there, right? So it's as simple as that. So never use logs. Okay, poor authorization and authentication. This is very simple. Most of the apps, like 70% of the apps, have a login screen, but it's just a login screen, right? So let's say if I can bypass the login screen, what happens? Goes to the next screen. But do you even check? Like, is it allowed to be going to the next screen? No one does that. Like 70% of the app does not check those stuff. So a proper authorization and authentication is required for each and every step of your program. Yes, broken cryptography. Now, these are like AES encryption, looks like funny names. What is AES encryption? I'm not going to talk about that, but then we can take it offline. HMAC, hashing, so these are the stuffs which you should be using. Use data protection API to fix those. Client-side injection. Now, many of you guys use PhoneGap or React Native to create apps, right? The problem is those are JavaScript-based apps. So if you are, pulling in a content from a server via JavaScript, can I inject something into that? Yes, I can. But if I can, then it comes in a client-side injection. So most of the apps also has this problem, but that's less than 30% of the app. Securitization via untrusted inputs. Okay, so I've seen this. If there is, a text box which accepts only numerics, can I input alphanumeric in there? Why is that? So even though you have given the keyboard property to just show numeric values, and even if you have the validator validating just the numeric value, I can use VNC and screen reflector to even input alphanumeric values into that. So you need to put in a proper check, proper sanity check for untrusted inputs. No. So this is again 20% of the apps which we found that these are the problems. Of course, improper session handling. Now, since this is security over convenience, because most of the time what happens is you do not want the user to log in every single time, because you log in once and everything should work. So the session handling in those cases can be hijacked. Where do you store the session cookies and stuff like that? So a session handling mechanism needs to be there properly. So yeah, so basically these are the things. So coming to the last point, 4 myths about mobile security. Now I want you guys to answer, right? The first myth is it a myth or not? That's the question though. Is it a myth or not? Public app stores are safe because they have security filters? It's a myth. Of course it's a myth. I mean, look at all the apps which are getting hacked day in and day out. Like every single day there are so many apps which are getting hacked. So the only thing which the public app store does is make sure that there is no malware-based apps inside the app store, or apps which do not violate privacy of the users. Data encryption is not required for mobile devices. Of course, everything is a myth, right? Yeah. Why didn't I even ask this question? Yes, it's a myth. It is required, of course. Data encryption is very much required, and that's the reason Apple came an extra step to offer their own data encryption API, data protection API for you guys to use it. PCs are more secure than mobile phones. Yeah, of course, it's a myth. PCs are not so much secure because mobile phones are very personal to you. You're never going to log out from Facebook and give it to your friend like, hey, you want to check your Facebook? You can check it. You're not going to do that, right? But in PC, of course, you're going to do that. And like, okay, fine, you want to check your Facebook? Just take my PC away, just do it, man. So you're not going to do that with your phone, right? So it's very far more personal for you. So the attack surface increases. And the last thing is, again, two-factor authentication can be neglected for mobile security. I have not seen a single app, except for banking apps, which uses two-factor authentication. I don't know why. They do use two-factor authentication in the web app, but their mobile version never uses two-factor authentication. I have no idea why. Because they think that usability comes before security. But the problem is one can bypass all of these security. If the two-factor authentication can be bypassed in mobile devices, it can also be bypassed in web devices. So, yeah. So this is a myth. You should be, if your business has a requirement to integrate two-factor authentication, make sure that you do, implement it into mobile into mobile apps also. All right. Questions? You can reach me. Oh, thank you.
We'll just have one question because we're running slightly out of time.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can download the slides from there, and that's my company, and of course my email address if you have questions. Any questions?
Yep, over here. Hello.
Oh, hi. Yeah.
So some apps are web wrappers and they just blindly accept cookies. Should they be doing that?
First thing, some app which uses JavaScript, like React Native app.
Oh,
first-
no. So the majority of the web is a web browser.
Yes.
So actually displaying a web page rather than something like React Native, which is displaying native components.
Right. All right. So first thing first, cookies. Now the cookies are stored in a secure container. So even if there is a juice jacking happening, they cannot retrieve the cookie until and unless your app is jailbroken and you're stupid enough to trust it. So yeah. But yeah, make sure the cookies which is being stored is just your session cookies and not so much of information stored in the cookies. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question
Sure.
because I have the mic and I can do anything
Go
I
ahead.
want.
Go ahead.
We usually commend Apple for choosing like good defaults. Like when they did app transport security, they
Right.
blocked everyone by default.
Right.
Why do you think for the NS file data thing,
Right.
the default is completely open? Why didn't they choose a more secure default there?
That's a very good question because for Apple, they don't care what kind of data you're going to store because by default you're going to store images, right? Now, images need not be secured,
So
right?
it could be a performance thing?
It is a performance thing. So, for example, NS App Transport does not cares about performance, right? Even if it is an HTTPS, it's just gonna have a 1 millisecond lag in performance. But for this, for hardware encryption, every time you close your app and open it again, if it's a gaming app, let's say, there's gonna be a huge performance. So if you switch off, lock your device and unlock your device, the game app is gonna be freezed for a few seconds and then it comes back, right? Now that's a huge performance loss for everyone. So I'm not going to use that game ever again if that happens, right? So, yeah,
That totally makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
sure.
Thank you, Subha.
Thank you so much.